You might recognize this melody. Super commonly used on movies, particularly on scenes involving danger or death, and it consists of these four notes. It's traditionally used on funeral songs, though in recent decades it's been used everywhere on movies. But why does this melody sound so much like danger and death? Having just finished watching the second season of Squid Game, I realized this time around that the music that plays during the intro just sounds oddly familiar. And after doing some more research, I realized that this is what's known as the Dies Irae melody, a Latin phrase meaning Day of Wrath or Judgment Day, and it's commonly used on funerals and nowadays on countless films. So I'm gonna go through why this melody sounds so creepy, starting with some quick history. So this melody started out as a Gregorian chant, or religious vocal music for the Roman Catholic Church's Requiem Mass, or a ceremony for the dead in the 13th century. The lyrics are said to have first been written by this guy called Thomas of Celano, but hard to confirm nor deny since it's been so long, while other Catholic monks wrote the melody. The name of the melody, Dies Irae, again translates to Judgment Day, which is the day that Catholics believe God will come down and judge whether the living and the dead deserve to go to heaven or hell for eternity. During the classical music period that followed, famous composers will often use this melody on their songs, especially for a darker mood, like on Mozart's Requiem. Then come the 1900s, with modern film music being heavily inspired by classical music, we start hearing this melody a lot on films like... Getting into the melody itself, we see that the melody starts off repeating these two adjacent notes. It doesn't matter which notes we start off on, but here we start off on the Do and T notes. And essentially what happens is that when we play two notes back to back like this, they're only one note apart, adjacent notes, it tends to sound kind of eerie. For example, if we were to play these two notes at the same time, it would sound like kind of off-putting. But if we were to play notes that are farther apart, let's say the Do and La notes, so two notes apart, it will sound like way more harmonious, almost the opposite. Not to mention the full melody also descends, starting on the Do, ending on the La, like... So it gives off a feeling of falling off or despair. Whereas if we were to reverse the melody and have it ascend, it will sound like... Sounds way less off-putting. And if we were to ascend now with notes that are farther apart, let's say two notes apart, so La, Do, Mi, So, it will sound even more cheerful, like... Another reason why this melody sounds so off-putting is the instruments commonly used to play this melody. We rarely just hear a cheerful piano or guitar playing the melody. Usually it'll be some brass or string instrument, like... Spinning that on these brass and string instruments, the sounds really sustain and project like a human voice, like... But on a guitar or piano, the sounds don't project and sustain the same way. Not that it absolutely can't. For example, if we were to play Squid Game music on guitar, it would sound more like... Just doesn't sound the same, a bit too in your face. If you're interested in learning more about why Squid Game music sounds so creepy, check out this video where I go over the unique chord progression used on Squid Game music for that extra eerie kind of atmosphere. Yet another thing that makes the melody eerie and off-putting are the chords typically used underneath this melody. So essentially on songs there's the melody, which is a string of notes that the singer usually sings. And then there are the chords played over to kind of set up the mood, like... And chords are essentially just a collection of notes, but played together. So for example, here we got 5 notes. And when you play notes together like this, it tends to set up the background mood really well. But over the Dies Irae melody, songs tend to use darker chords to further enhance that scary sound. For example, on the Lion King song, they use this dark D minor chord, like... Essentially, chords can generally be categorized as either major or minor. So major and minor chords. And major chords tend to sound happier, while minor chords tend to sound sadder and darker. Hence why Lion King chose to use this D minor chord versus a D major chord. Doesn't sound as fitting. Here's how the melody would sound with a major chord. Now, a popular variation is to look at the melody as two sets of two notes versus playing the full melody straight, like for kind of a slow, creeping up kind of sound effect, versus a full-on, like Judgment Day type sound. Or they might play the full 4 notes as is, but when they repeat the melody a second time around, they would change up one note to make it sound more interesting. So here, they just repeat the melody a couple times. But on the last time, they change up the first note of the melody, so it's one note higher, a re, instead of a do, like. And here, this unexpected jump actually adds a lot of intrigue to the already eerie sound, almost like a jump scare, like, without making it sound too incoherent and weird, since it's just one note up, away from the original note anyway, a re, instead of a do. Or my favorite way this melody gets used, which is to omit the first 2 notes. So just taking the last 2 notes, jumping over one note, taking that pattern and then descending down with that, like. Essentially here, they take the pattern started by the last 2 notes of the melody, where they skip over a note and then descend down with that. So after these 2 notes, they go down to T, and then La, and then So. And with this melody pattern, it sounds a bit less eerie than on the original melody where it starts off with 2 adjacent notes, but still retains our dark sound, despite being the notes being farther apart, because we're actually playing in what's known as the minor scale, or a collection of notes that make a song sound dark. All that is to say, whatever notes we play within this minor scale framework will have a dark sound, even if the notes are not exactly right next to each other. Plus, the notes we play are still pretty close together, just 2 notes apart. The DS Irae melody sounds really eerie due to it using adjacent notes descending in the minor scale. If you're interested in learning about other common melodies used in pop culture, check out this video where I go over the 5 most overused melodies in pop music. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.